God, I'm telling you, my dogs are barking today.
But man, my dogs are barking.
Well, hopefully your week is going well. If there's someone whose week is not going well, it is the Mississippi State men's basketball team. They have had a couple of tough losses with Ole Miss in a close game in Oxford, losing 86-82, and then a blowout loss 67-99 versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. Both games on the road, difficult games. But the Alabama loss hurts a little bit more because Josh Hubbard, the very talented, probably the best scorer on Mississippi State's team, came down with an injury, and DJ Jeffries, a great defender, streaky in terms of what he adds, streaky at best offensively. But Mississippi State's got some issues going into now. We are in this last full month of the regular season before March starts and March Madness really revs up. And Mississippi State, their season was really going well until about December 3rd, and that is whenever the Bulldogs really seem to have issues pop up. This is when Mississippi State lost to Southern University in just a terrible loss. It was a last-second loss, 59-60, but a terrible one at that. The Bulldogs came back and beat a Rutgers team in New Jersey. They beat a top 5 Tennessee team in Starkville. They beat a top 10 team in Auburn at home, and then they've lost 2 games back-to-back. And Mississippi State, as they currently stand with Joe Lunardi in the NCAA bracketology, where they stand as of Sunday, February 4th, is a 9 seed. Currently, they're shaped up to be in the West column. This is where North Carolina is the number 1 seed. Mississippi State is currently slated to be a 9 seed that would take on TCU. That's at the given moment. TCU, of course, a team that Mississippi State played in, I believe last year, beat early in the year last year. But obviously that matchup likely will not happen. But currently, Mississippi State is in a place in their season where it really appears things can go one way or the other. I mean, they've lost. Alabama's a very good team. Alabama's really a really good team. Ole Miss is a very good team. Ole Miss is 18-4, I believe. They just had a close loss against Auburn a few nights ago. And Mississippi State kind of places themselves in this situation where this week, February 7th, Mississippi State's got Georgia at home. Georgia is a team that, by all accounts, is not great this season. They've had some struggles thus far this season. That's a winnable game that Mississippi State could pull off, certainly. After Georgia, they go out on the road at Missouri. Missouri's another team that's really struggled. Thought they'd be better this year, but again, they're struggling. Then you have an Arkansas team at home in Starkville, again struggling, just not the same team they usually are. You have 3 winnable games, and of those 3 winnable games, Mississippi State can make themselves 17 and I believe what would they be? 17 and that'd be 17 and 8. That's great. If you drop 1 or 2 of those through these next 3 for the Bulldogs, it gets really difficult. Not just because of the loss in the win-loss column, but the quality of opponent. Because as you know, I mean, the season gets tougher and tougher as we go on, and Mississippi State's about to enter into a very difficult part of their schedule, kind of coming down the stretch. You've got Ole Miss in Starkville, a chance for redemption, a chance to beat a very good team. LSU is a team they're going to play in Baton Rouge. They're not a great team, but this is the SEC, and it's on the road. It's not going to be a simple deal. Then you have Kentucky in Starkville. Then you go on the road at Auburn and on the road at College Station and in South Carolina as a home game in the regular season. And here's the deal. As we sit, Mississippi State is in the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. Everything seems to be going well on that front. But if the Bulldogs continue to drop several of these games because of their very bad loss to Southern on December 3rd, the Bulldogs might play their way out of the NCAA tournament. By all accounts, they're in at this moment. But they have got to do well on this back half. When you consider who is who is able to play for the Bulldogs, who's still there. That's something that's going to be had to be cleared up a little bit on how healthy Josh Hubbard is. It seems like he's in a much better spot, at least than DJ Jeffries is. I believe the Bulldogs, they're not out of it, but these losses have really hurt them. Loss in Gainesville to Florida hurt them. I mean, that was a game they should have had. Losses to South Carolina have hurt them, but those wins versus Tennessee and versus Auburn look like they're going to help keep Mississippi State solidified. So this last half of the season is going to be really interesting, going to be really fun. But you have to, at this point, question where this team is. Mississippi State, and glad they got Tolu Smith back, but Mississippi State essentially has had the same roster for 3 years. All of guys that have transferred in years ago. Shaq Moore transferred in from NC State 3 years ago. Tolu Smith, who's the best player on this team, likely, transferred from Western Kentucky 4 years ago. DJ Jeffries transferred in from Memphis. Deshaun Davis transferred in from Oregon State. All these guys are getting in their third year, and yet still the offense is lacking. And the only real offensive piece, when Tolu Smith is going and averaging 20, it's great. But when you feel like you have to force feed on the ball, that they really struggle. Josh Hubbard's the only real offensive threat from three. He appears to be a little bit banged up. You have to wonder where this team is going. It's clear that there is a ceiling with some of these guys that have been here for several years. But they did make the tournament last year. 3-point shooting really hurt them. Really was the reason they lost that game and many other games last season. 3-point shooting is better this season, but it's not very difficult to do compared to last season. The Bulldogs have an opportunity this week specifically to really get on the right foot. Think about this. If the Bulldogs end up going 3-0, best case scenario, right? They got Georgia in Starkville, very winnable. They go on the road at Missouri, winnable game. Missouri's not great. Then they have a very big game Saturday, next Saturday, versus Arkansas. And you have an opportunity to go 3-0 in that game, in those games. But with the offensive production that we've seen, especially this past Saturday against Alabama, it just seems remarkably unlikely. And it seems as if the worst fears of the Bulldog fans are coming true. The offense is really letting them down. And what the issues were last season, the offense was really bad. The defense was really exceptional. But what's happened is the defense seems to be sliding big time. They did allow 99 points to Alabama. They couldn't score 70. They had the best offensive output all season against Ole Miss. All season is that's not technically true. But we're very good offensively. Had guys scoring from all over. But they gave up 86 points. And the Rebels were hot from the 3-point line. It seems like there is a point of concern for Mississippi State, and other teams in the conference seem to be getting hotter and hotter, seem to be really growing their capabilities as the season has gone on, and Mississippi State has cause for concern. This week in particular, of February 5th through the 12th, is huge. Huge to see what Mississippi State's made of, to see where they're going. I believe wholeheartedly they go 2-0 this week. They get an entire week off between Missouri and then coming back and facing Arkansas. So after the Missouri game on the 10th, they have an entire week before they go and play Arkansas. That's a lot of time to rest. A lot of time for Mississippi State to get back, get the game plan going, and we have one more month of this, and then all of a sudden it's SEC tournament time in Nashville. It's March 13th through the 17th. Before that starts, we will have a preview show that is just going to kind of give our predictions on what the tournament itself will hold, and so we're looking forward to that. But let me know your thoughts. Where do you see this Mississippi State finishing? We've seen how the season's gone so far. And I'd love to get a perspective of someone who's not even a Mississippi State fan necessarily, but on the outside perspective, where is this team going? The trajectory does not seem super positive, but we've seen Chris Jans adapt and adapt his game plan, adapt what he's able to do. So I'm looking forward to this and seeing how this continues to play out for the rest of the season. But I think this week in particular is a really, really big week. Mississippi State has Georgia on Wednesday, Missouri on Saturday, and then an entire week after that, they are facing the Arkansas Razorbacks. And that exact same week, you got Ole Miss and LSU. I mean, the punches just continue to come. But overall, reason for concern for the Bulldogs, and now we're at a point where they have got to go out and win. I mean, it's obvious you have to win. You need to win every game you play in. But for Mississippi State, because of some of their losses being so bad, now they are putting themselves in a very, very tough spot to where they really and truly seems like they have to win. And so we'll see how it goes. Currently, Taylor Smith is averaging about 17 a game, 17-6. Josh Hubbard is averaging about 15 points a game, but he's only started 2 games thus far. The biggest part, something I've got to mention, the turnovers are absolutely killing Mississippi State. They are absolutely killing Mississippi State. They are turning the ball over at such a rapid rate that it's what kept Ole Miss in the game. I mean, Ole Miss points off turnovers was a little under 20. I mean, they were taking advantage of the turnovers that the Bulldogs were creating, and they have to get that cleaned up. And I'm hoping that the week in between Missouri and Arkansas, I mean, that's 7 full days, or really 6 full days of rest before in terms of gameplay. Hopefully that's the time that they can address it. But Mississippi State has an important part of their schedule coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Looking forward to seeing what is going to happen as we get closer to March. We're in the thick of the college basketball season, but the best is truly yet to come. Thanks so much for listening to the My Dogs Are Barking podcast.